Afternoon all, no respawns here, hope you're doing well. So I wanted to give you an introduction video for Honor, because I have been playing it quite a bit. In fact, I basically woke up about 10 today, and it's now 10, so I've actually been playing it longer. I must have woken up about 8. I forgot, basically, I've just been murdering people all day, and it's been absolutely fantastic. So for those of you who don't know, For Honor is a game that just came out today. Well, it's been an open beta this recent weekend, which is when I finally got a chance to play around with it. Not as long as I liked, though I did get to see Lego Batman, so that made up for it. However, I did get to play it most of Sunday, and that prompted me to pre-order the game because it is absolutely fantastic. Now, the premise of the game is that, well, firstly, it's a PvP game, just getting off the bat. There is a campaign mode, but it's quite a good story, actually. I've only about a fifth through it. It's pretty cool, but it is made for similar to Overwatch, basically. Yeah, it's kind of made to be played PvP. It's quite cool. Anyway, so the premise is you've got knights, ninjas, and samurai and Vikings, all settled in this one continent. It sounds a little bit far-fetched and weird, but when I watched a few of the cutscenes, played the game, it works. This isn't Earth, this isn't like they've just kind of squished Germany, Norway, and Japan together. It feels like it makes sense, but it's a bit over the top, obviously, but it is fun. Now, one cool thing about For Honor is the fact that it is, in fact, cross-platform in one element. So, it's available on all platforms, like PS4, Xbox One, PC. However, you can't play against people on other platforms, but there's a thing called the Faction War. So when you start the game, alongside getting to design your emblem, I have a very funky shield, by the way, and it's very, very cool. But basically, you get to pick what faction that you want to represent in the Faction War. Now, this Faction War is tracked across all of the platforms. So there'll be people I play on PC, but there'll be people on PS4 and Xbox One, affecting the outgoing war effort on the various fronts, which I think is very cool. It makes sense in a way, because it would be weird if they had, 3 different faction wars going on. It'd be pretty shitty, if I'm playing on PC and my Viking bros are doing shit. However, some asshole on PS4 or Xbox is just kind of rolling in whatever the rewards are. I've never actually bothered checking. Anyway, I don't know what the rewards are. I think they're emblems and gear and scrap and stuffs. But anyway, it's very, very cool. I'm enjoying it a lot. As I said, you've already gathered ready from a little comment earlier. I am playing the Vikings, but obviously I wouldn't judge you too harshly. If you picked the tin heads or the weebs, that's okay, but Vikings are obviously superior because whatever reasons I made up when I just randomly decided to choose Vikings on Sunday, and now that they're my team and I'm weirdly attached to them, they're really good fun. I like playing the Warlord, in case you're curious if the footage that's popping up now didn't, kind of give it away. So in terms of how the game functions, so I'm getting huge Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Bloodborne kind of flashbacks when I was playing this. That's the itch that it scratches for me. Now, there are quite a few PC games that apparently, what was it? Knight and Blade or Sword and Blade. Basically, I'll be utterly honest, I've never played them. I would recognise them if I saw them, but I can't remember their names. But there are elements of that in there as well. I was talking to my friend earlier, he mentioned how the blocking mechanic is similar to that. But for me, it scratches that Dark Souls itch. The best way I can kind of give you, if you've played Dark Souls, but obviously haven't played For Honor, is it reminds me a lot of playing Dark Souls PvP. Specifically more Dark Souls than Bloodborne. It's a little bit more slow post. I actually prefer it because this is obviously kind of from the ground up, made as a player versus player game, whereas with something like Dark Souls, it's obviously kind of within a PvP environment. And also, it's Dark Souls, as we all know, and Bloodborne, there are certain builds, shall we say, that tend to wreck. And especially because I don't like using magic and try to go ninja all the time, I'd get fucked up. Anyway, another reason why it gave me kind of quite a lot of scratch the Dark Souls itch is because it feels like, and what I mean by that, obviously the fact is, it's a third-person fighting game with swords and shit, but also when you fuck up or when you do well, you know what you've done well or what you've done badly. With Dark Souls, when you make an error, you kind of know what you did. You're like, shit, I didn't roll properly. I'm trying to kill this dude, and he keeps outflanking me and I'm not blocking properly, okay, I need to sort that shit out. And that's exactly how For Honor feels. It's got quite a steep learning curve to get over the first hurdle. So when you first start, you might be overwhelmed quite a bit. But then you get the hang of things, and then you're like, oh, okay, cool, you're in that giant grey miasma, which is kind of intermediate, which is where I am. I'm upper intermediate, well, kind of above half, upper, second, third quarter. There we go, I'm in the third quarter of intermediate, I'd like to think. There's no ranking system of yet other than leveling up. Now, it's quite cool, because see, where I am right now, I've kind of mastered the basics. Like a lot of you, when I play a competitive game that I haven't played for the first time, I get an adrenaline rush and I get the shakes. So earlier this morning, my hands were shaking, sweaty palms, all that gross bullshit. And so I was trying to, block and counter on that shit, and I wasn't doing very well. However, now I've pretty much got all my blocking. I'm not shaking. It's now when I'm looking at what I'm doing, I'm like, okay, what am I doing wrong? And it's quite fun. And I know that the next plateau, for me personally, for example, is I'm very, very good at kind of switching up where my attacks are coming from. You've probably noticed that I play the Warlord almost exclusively right now. I have dabbled in the Valkyrie and a bit on the Berserker. But what I'm learning right now for myself, just as an example, is I'm working how to time my counters perfectly. And also, mainly because Warlord obviously kind of has some quite cool counter follow-up moves, which are quite badass, and kind of incorporating those into my play style. And it's quite fun. Now, with that kind of that mindset where you know where you fucked up and you know where you've got to improve, a bit more distinctly than, say, something like use Overwatch, for example, is like, oh, I've got to improve my aim. It's a little bit more harder to pin down on where you're going wrong with your aim if you're overshooting or over-aiming or under-aiming. Whereas with this, you're like, no, it's very specifically that I'm getting owned by, this specific class because I'm not countering or blocking their moves properly. And that's what I really, really like. And what that seems to have transferred into, or maybe just the people that are attracted to the game, is the community. Now, those of you who played, I'm going to keep using Overwatch, or fucking even MOBAs, League of Legends, whatever, as examples here. The communities are very toxic, right? Obviously, we don't have a competitive in For Honor just yet, though I believe we're having a tournament competitive coming up later down the line. But there is it's a very warm, friendly community, at least for now. It's great, actually, it's fantastic. I played about 5-6 hours on the Sunday, and then today I've played about 10 hours overall, so playing all fucking day. I did eat, don't worry. I've forgotten to shower though. I'll do that later, it's fine. But I haven't had any salt whatsoever. Even where the twice when I used slightly cheesy tactics and just threw someone over the ledge at a spike because I just wanted to practice doing it. People were like, oh, that's funny. And people are enjoying it, and I think maybe because it's got that kind of higher skill barrier. And of course a lot of people seem to be coming from the Dark Souls. I've seen quite a few people with the Praise the Sun shields already, which is awesome. And it's quite cool, so I'm liking that. That was one of the reasons why I stopped playing Overwatch, to be utterly honest, was just I'm sitting there, just I want to break from all the salt and the bullshit, and then I go on Overwatch, and it's just, whiny little man-children getting upset because, I don't know, they lost the point A really early. It's kind of bollocks, whereas when you play For Honor, it's just awesome. Also, I like the fact that there's a 1v1 dueling element, and that actually aids the war effort. I absolutely love that. That's pretty much what I'm doing most of my time right now, because I tend to... I don't know how some of you have been playing Overwatch, For Honor rather, have this right now, but when I do any of the various game modes that are team-based, my skill level tends to drop several points. I don't know what it is. Speaking of team modes, let me tell you what they are. So there's 1v1 dueling, which I loves. There's 2v2, it's called brawling, which I'm going to try with my friend possibly later, or maybe kind of later in the week. He's just got it today, but he's started a bit late, so he's just kind of practicing, which will be cool. That's good, especially if you only got one friend and you two can just kind of team up and kind of kick shit. Then there's two different versions of 4v4. There's a 4v4 deathmatch, which has a kind of a breaking point system. So a counter goes up depending on how much you're killing, and then when you hit 1,000, the team breaks, and then you just have to wipe the other team out. They don't respawn. Whereas there's just a 4v4 elimination, which is basically you spawn each of the 4 players on each team spawns opposite one of the others, and you duel, and then you have to run off and take everyone out. But you can also respawn people. That's probably my favourite team one. Then there's also Dominion, I believe, which is your kind of capture point situation, but it's got 2 capture points, which are just kind of A and C, and then you've got the B capture point, which is kind of like a war front, where you've actually got very easy to kill cannon fodder NPCs doing this kind of back and forth. It's quite cool. I'm personally enjoy the kind of the 1v1 duels more right now. Then maybe I might enjoy the team stuff a bit better further down the line. Just for me personally, I don't know if anyone else playing For Honor kind of feel the same way I do. But one, they get a little bit like a clusterfuck quite quickly, especially when you're at the front. And again, I feel like my skill just dropped several points. I don't know what it is, but I play worse. But whereas on 1v1, it's just Davey. I guess maybe it's just because I'm, wondering whether some asshole's gonna stab me in the back, which usually happens, actually. Yeah, people like to gank, which I don't blame them, to be honest. I gank too. So yeah, I'm really, really enjoying the game so far. The reason why I want to do this video is because I want to give everyone a kind of introduction, because I know, for example, there have been videos being made over the last few months. I wanted something a bit fresher, especially from someone who maybe hadn't been obsessively following the game and has just kind of jumped in. What are my first impressions? Firstly, it's amazing. But also, I'm going to be featuring this on the channel quite a lot, because, as I said, because I like those kind of Dark Souls, Bloodborne style games. I get really obsessive playing those games, like really obsessive, and I'm going to quite enjoy kind of making little kind of niche guides. For example, these will be more on the kind of intermediate level, kind of me as I progress. So obviously, because I do obsessively research, I am going to try and be quite concise and give you guys as much information as possible. Mainly around techniques, for example, best ways to, counter, how to practice, that kind of thing, which I hope you guys find quite useful. I've already been kind of mentally drumming up strategies in my head, vis-a-vis, for example, how identifying certain players' playstyles and kind of adapting yourself to kind of counter them, maybe not even necessarily the hero. It's quite cool. I really, really like this. I'm fucking loving this game. Anyway, guys, I will have a new video up tomorrow, potentially 2, actually, because I want to squeeze in a Coded Exiles, because in my downtime, I have been building funky shit, as well as fiddling around and Fallout, as always. Speaking of as always, follow me on Twitter, at norespawns, want to see what I'm up to. Not much today, because I only posted once, because I've been playing For Honor every day, and let's be utterly frank, I'm just going to go play For Honor right now. It's going to be great, but I will be back again, just tweeting up bollocks. Anyway, you guys enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll talk to you lovely people soon. You take care.